Welcome to America Advances.
The Navy's Nimitz-class aircraft carriers need to be retired now. The United States has 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers at its disposal, including 10 from the Nimitz class. The Nimitz-class carriers were first launched in 1972 with a design lifespan of 50 years. These carriers, symbols of American naval supremacy during the Cold War, are now facing challenges from advanced anti-access area denial A2AD systems, which could significantly limit their effectiveness in modern combat scenarios. Despite their impressive capabilities and roles in humanitarian missions, the rise of A2AD technology suggests that a strategic shift may be necessary. As the U.S. Navy transitions to the new Gerald R. Ford-class carriers, there are ongoing debates about the future relevance of traditional aircraft carriers in contemporary warfare settings. The future of U.S. naval power, Nimitz-class carriers, in the age of A2AD threats. The United States has 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers at its disposal, 10 of which belong to the Nimitz class. When the next great power war erupts, the advent of anti-access area denial, A2AD systems, will have negated much of the operational freedom that carriers have enjoyed in the post-war era. American aircraft carriers are modern marvels of engineering. First deployed in 1972, these nuclear-powered carriers were designed to have a lifespan of roughly 50 years with one mid-life refueling. These warships were created to achieve and maintain naval supremacy in contested environments, with the Soviet Union in mind as America's Cold War antagonist. Although these ships are remnants from a bygone era, their true heyday arguably came after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War. They were most potent when the United States stood as the unchallenged global hegemon in a unipolar world system. As floating air bases able to be deployed anywhere, as long as the sea lanes are open and the waterways around a target are relatively uncontested, these behemoths patrolled the deep blue seas, imposing U.S. will upon other countries for decades. They also served as vital relief ships during humanitarian crises, albeit at great expense to U.S. taxpayers. During the Cold War, such operations helped Americans best the Soviets in the battle for the hearts and minds of the world's population. In the post-Cold War era, these taxpayer-funded humanitarian missions served to show the flag, reminding people worldwide of America's power and ubiquity. Nimitz-class carrier specs. The Nimitz class was manufactured by Huntington Ingalls Industries Newport News Shipbuilding Company. These great ships are powered by two Westinghouse A4W nuclear reactors and carry a crew of around 3,200, plus more than 2,000 personnel as part of the carrier's mighty air wing. A Nimitz-class carrier displaces a full load of 100,000 tons. This ship can travel at more than 30 knots, about 34 miles per hour. While each ship of this class has varied arsenals, generally speaking, the Nimitz class comes armed with NATO RIM-7 Sea Sparrow surface-to-air missiles, SAM, launched by 2 to 3 Mk-29 missile launchers. If the Sea Sparrow SAMs aren't needed, the Nimitz class can deploy 8 RIM-162 Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles, ESSM. Along with these systems, a MiG-49 missile launching system can deploy 21 RIM-116 Rolling Airframe missiles, RAM. A Phalanx Close-In Weapon System, CIWS, protects the warship. Its real offensive capability, though, resides in its air wing, carrying around 60 aircraft. After all, you cannot have an aircraft carrier without aircraft. Yet, in today's era of A2AD, there is real concern among experts that the Nimitz-class carriers would be kept out of the range of A2AD systems. Therefore, the air wing would be unable to deploy into a contested environment, as they would be out of range. Of course, they could always refuel mid-air. The problem with that is if the A2AD network they're going up against is as comprehensive as America's rivals, such as China, have made them, then mid-air refueling tankers would be easy targets too. Here again, we see an example of America's greatest surface warship being negated by relatively cheap A2AD systems. Other onboard systems that enhance the ship's warfighting abilities include magnificent sensors, such as the AN/SPS-48E electronically scanned array 3D air search radar, the AN/SPS-49 long-range 2D air search radar, AN/SPQ-9 target acquisition radar, AN/SPN-46 precision approach and landing system, as well as a multiplicity of other systems designed to assist air operations. These carriers are loaded with electronic warfare suites along with torpedo decoys meant to thwart incoming torpedo attacks. Is a replacement carrier for the aging Nimitz class needed? The size, speed, and reach of the Nimitz class carrier are impressive. In an uncontested domain or even a contested domain with less advanced systems than what most American rivals have today, these carriers would continue to be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the high seas. The U.S. has made a long-term investment in these carriers, and it has received much return on that investment. However, as the world moves into the A2AD era, the U.S. Navy should be spending its limited capital developing systems that are more relevant to this new strategic era. Rather than focus on building relevant technologies for the future, the Navy has decided to go all in with the new Gerald R. Ford-class carriers, which are meant to slowly replace the aging Nimitz-class carriers. Here again is a great example of Washington not understanding the reality of what we are facing today globally. Much like the battleship of old, the aircraft carrier is basically useless in today's age of A2AD. When the Nimitz class is ultimately retired, that should be the end of the carrier.
That's it for today's video, soldiers. I remind you that you can subscribe to stay updated with the latest military news.